Welcome to Max 101 channel. Now, a couple things before we get started. Number one, this is probably going to be the last episode you see with these wood panels in the background. No, I'm not moving out, I'm not moving anywhere, but we are going to completely redo these walls, and so you're going to see them in a nice snowbank color. That is literally what it is called. So this is probably going to be one of the last videos where everything looks wood like this. Not that you care, just in case you're watching these videos quite a ways in the future and you see all that. But here's the main point of this video. All the way back on July 28th, 2018, so more than 3 years ago now, I created a document, or a note, on my phone. And this goes to show you how psycho I am because, well, I called it Weird Max Cars. No joke. And I have categorized certain things in here, and I will now tell you what those are. So category number one is sensitive electricity. What I mean by this is if you're in the train and it just seems like the lights are extra flickery in that train, or if they shut off for a couple seconds and come back, like let's say it arced or something, or yeah, you're going over a set of switch points and it arcs and shuts the lights off inside for a little bit. Of course, this happens a lot more often on the Type 1s than it does on any of the other cars. However, it seems like the Type 4s have certain areas, and probably the 5s as well, but it doesn't seem to be as noticeable on the 5s. We'll just be going through an area, and instead of the lights and fan turning off, just the fan turns off for about 10 seconds or so before it kicks back on again. There are a few Type 5s with possessed HVAC, including the one that I uploaded on this channel quite some time ago now, probably about a month ago, with the blue line video on number 537 or 527, where the HVAC kept changing levels. That train was really kind of screwed up, but anyway, the Type 1s that have the sensitive electricity that I've wrote down, it's a lot. It's numbers 109, 111, 112, 113, 114, 116, 119, 120, 121, and 124. All of those I put on there for sensitive electricity. But there are several Type 1s that I don't think I've ever been on or ever recorded, at least, and so this reading may not be entirely accurate, but a couple of these have notes of their own. Number 113's happened at Northeast 7th Avenue, so we were going through the Lloyd District, and it shot off right as we were going into the 7th Avenue Max station in the eastbound direction. Number 116's went out in the tunnel, in the Robertson Tunnel. That's happened a few times. I really do think I've recorded it on video once, but I cannot for the life of me find that video, so maybe I didn't. But it has happened maybe 3 times, 2 times, and on number 119 it might have been fixed, because I recorded it and it was doing it, you know, in downtown Portland. There's a very specific spot, and I've showed it before, between I believe it's at the Yamhill and 12th intersection when you're heading toward Gresham or the airport. Where as soon as you pass that intersection, I believe there's a section isolator overhead, which I've talked about on a previous video on what the C and P signs mean in the trackway. Well, yeah, I believe there's one of those there at that intersection. So sometimes when you're on the 2s and 3s, you'll see the lights flicker really quickly in that spot, but on the 1s, they're more sensitive to electricity, and so they end up shutting the lights all off for several seconds before they come back on. They don't always do that. It depends on the train, it depends on the driver, it probably depends on the phase of the moon, too.
He's pretty confident on that.
It's done that twice. What, not in service? It's in the turnaround. Also on here is number 323. I think that one, if memory serves, I believe that one also happened in the Lloyd District. 415, 417, 418, and 419 are all on here. And apparently 418's was not as sensitive whatever that may mean. Those were the Type 4s where the HVAC would cut out for about 10 seconds before randomly powering back on at full power. The next category is one that I probably should remove because it's most certainly been fixed by now, considering this note was made 3 years ago on my phone, but AC issues. So, all I had on here was number 536. 536, I think I remember this day exactly. So, when we were coming back home, we were on this train. It was really warm that day, it was probably about 90, and the AC was broken. The fan was on, it sounded like it was working fine, but it was hot in the train. Almost, I actually think it was probably a degree or two hotter in the train than it was outside, and it was still about 90 outside. So, yeah, that was fun. No, it was not. What happened on that train was as soon as we pulled into the Beaverton Transit Center, the doors opened. We were going toward Hillsborough, by the way. The doors opened, and a couple of supervisors, I guess, got on the train and went over to the AC vent, and they stuck their hand up near there, and they had radios, and they, whatever happened. And we sat at Beaverton Transit Center for maybe 3 minutes, maybe more, before we started moving again. Then, by the time we pulled into Hatfield, there was a train on the A track at Hatfield, and when our train pulled in, it immediately went not in service, even though it was at like 2 or 3 p.m., so that's very unusual. And it went into track 1, went out of service, everything was broken on it, the HVAC at least was, and so the train on the A track, they, I guess, pulled out of Elmonica in the meantime. They did it smart, and then the driver would have just, or the operator, just took over the train on the A track. I went into way more detail there than I needed to, but that was number 536 that was on.
While riding Trimet, please maintain a safe distance from others while riding. The maximum occupancy.
It's off.
Party, please hold on. The doors are closing. Train departing. Please hold on.
Next category, again, this depends on a number of factors, but it was loud screeching. And I just put it on 2 of the trains. The screeching is actually more so caused by the tracks and not the trains themselves, although it is affected by how fast the train is going around a curved stretch of rail. The 2 train cars I have for this are numbers 236 and 238. And 236's note is that it was in the Robertson Tunnel, which is a little interesting that it was. So he was probably going too fast around the corner near the end of the tunnel. But it doesn't really matter too much, and I might do a separate video on this, but there's something known as sun kinks in the rails, which, remember when we had those really hot days where it got into the 110s? Well, yeah, that wasn't too good on the rails, and so if you ride Max through several areas of the system, you'll notice that they've been slowing down an unusual amount, especially by Beaverton Transit Center, Sunset Transit Center. That's why, because if they go any faster than the posted speed that you might see on those yellow signs in the trackway, if they go any faster than that, then it screeches very loudly. And I wouldn't imagine it being too good on the rails either. So numbers 236 and 238 I had on here, but it was probably not down to those train cars, but rather the tracks themselves. this one's a bit interesting. Loud and weird buzzing is the next category. This could be buzzing that you could hear outside the train. This could be buzzing you hear inside the train. But if it's anything out of the ordinary, I have it on here. 110, 118, 120, and 122. Those are probably the exterior buzzing sounds that happen on Type 1s. A while ago, and I don't know why I never uploaded this video, but I think it was back in April, I went out of my way to film car number 101. I checked on the Rose City Transit list for number 101, met up with it at Hatfield, and took it all the way to Washington Park, and I filmed the whole thing. But I accidentally did it wrong, and another train was there already, and it happened to be number 122, which I think, until proven untrue, I believe 122 is Trimet's loudest max car, by far. And I got a little video of it sitting at Hatfield. Okay, continuing on the list, I also have 202, which I put Buzzy HVAC. I was on that one recently. As you saw, I uploaded a video of that recently. That one, I'm not sure why the whole thing sounds like that. If you haven't seen that, you totally should ride that train if you get a chance, or at least watch my video to see what's so weird about that one. But the HVAC was very buzzy in that one. 235, same thing. 240, heat on B end. I think, if memory serves, that was when I was looking through some old videos I did where I was just filming trains at Hatfield at night. This was during the wintertime, so the heat was running. And apparently on the B end, in number 240, the heater was very buzzy. And on car number 320, on the A end, also was apparently buzzy. Okay, clunking noises. So this is while the train is just moving down the trackway, if it's creating a clunk, 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 like a knocking noise. This is only an issue, or at least should only be an issue, on the Type 1s, thanks to their very strange articulation design in the trains. And the only one I have on here for that is number 115, but there are other Type 1s that have had small issues with that in the past, and 115's has probably since been fixed. Okay, Creaky Train is the next category on here, and that one is number 403. So if you happen to ride number 403, apparently it was a creaky train. I would say if you want to hear a creaky train, then head on that and try and sit at or near the upper deck on the A end in the front. Because I believe that's where I was sitting when I filmed a video of that. Seriously, like 95% of all videos I've ever recorded are not on YouTube. So yeah, there's also I didn't even put a category for this, but there's also a very squeaky Type 1 where the articulation unit is. It sounds like if you walk out in the rain with shoes on and come back in and squeak your feet on the floor, that's what it sounds like. If you ride car number 103. 103 is probably the most tired. I can just tell it's like an exhausted train. And it's still going, but It doesn't seem very happy. So if you get on number 103, the articulation in that is extremely squeaky. Every little movement of it. And when you come to a stop, it goes... It even squeaks when it stops. It's really bad. Next category is one that I apparently just keep adding and adding stuff on. Is Weird Propulsion 115. I'm not really sure why I added that on the list. I'm not sure what's so weird about it. That might depend on where you're sitting in the train. 125 when slowing down at 20 to 30 miles per hour. Huh. Well, I'm going to have to go back look through these, because some of these I wrote 3 years ago when I was on the trains, but I'm not really sure what that means. So apparently it just sounds weird when slowing down at 20 to 30 miles per hour if you happen to ride car number 125. Car number 202, well, you know that one because I uploaded that one quite recently. That has got to be the most unique sounding Type 2 I've ever heard in my life. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if they replaced gears in the propulsion system. I don't know if it came from the factory like that, but it sounds like no other Type 2 or 3. .216 is apparently another one. 221 and 236, I put low pitch on those. So 221 and 236 are apparently very low pitch train cars. 243 when starting up. Okay. 244, 301, which I've actually been on 301 fairly recently. Actually, it was a couple months ago. And that one, from what I remember, just it sounds like it wasn't completely assembled. Like it just sounds very, almost kind of hollow and low pitch. 302, occasionally when accelerating to 40 to 55 miles per hour. So apparently 302 has odd acceleration as you head up to the higher speeds. 320 sounds like gears are falling apart. Okay. 326, high-pitched ring. Sounds like vacuum. What? Some of these I really don't remember. Good thing I wrote these down. And number 402, I do remember that one. 402, when accelerating. I was sitting in the B end of number 402, where the extra seats are. By the way, those are known as the parlor seats. I was sitting in the B end there, and as we would accelerate, it sounded very odd. Okay, so those are my weird propulsion ones, although Oregon Building Railfan commented on some other person's YouTube channel, I don't remember whose it was now, it was quite a while ago, and said, you should ride number 321, it sounds really weird. So that has been on my bucket list as well, to hunt down number 321 and ride it the next time it's on the blue line. Next category is wind whistles. So this, yeah, is pretty self-explanatory. This one is not in numerical order at all for some reason. So I have numbers 302 and 323 on here. So the wind was whistling, probably through the upper deck vents. 125, 119, 325, 124, and 227 A end. So if you get on any of those, the wind will probably be whistly, which makes for an interesting experience. And just recently I added other, so an other category. 102 and 114 have the old door buttons. So on the Type 1s, if you're inside the train, you know you have those blocks, and on the sides it says press to open. It's just a simple green square button that you press to open the doors. But on 102 and 114, they still have the original door buttons. It's like a black casing with a tan button inside that draws a picture of the doors, and it just lights up gold. And it does the same thing. When you push it, it opens. And on the outside, the button is different too. It's just a little button. It's very weird. I believe it was 102. It's either 102 or 103 that has the old door buttons. And 114 I was on recently, and it still has them. If there are any more, then there's probably some more I don't even know about. Numbers 203 and 235 were repainted like the Type 3s. So the biggest difference, and the biggest way to tell the difference between the Type 2 and Type 3 Max cars is just by simply looking at how they're painted. If it has the old Trimet stripes with the brown, red, and orange, or burgundy, red, and whatever, that means it's a Type 2. But if it has the blue and yellow semicircles, then that means it was a Type 3, because those trains were created after Trimet introduced that paint scheme. But numbers 203 and 235, both of which are Type 2s, have the newer paint. The reason for number 235 is because, I don't know, maybe 10, 11, 12 years ago, it collided with a fire truck in downtown Hillsborough and suffered pretty extreme damage to the car body. And so after they repaired it, they just decided to repaint it so it would look fresh and new. I'm not sure what happened to car number 203, but I would assume it was probably something similar. If any one of you knows, let me know in the comments. And this is one that I think a lot of people know, at least now, because even Wikipedia says it. But car numbers 102, 103, and 116 are fully in their original state, or at least pretty much. So from the outside, they even still have the old Trimet stripes, because they just were never updated. You'll notice the rest of the Type 1s have the blue and yellow semicircles because they've undergone the car body overhaul program. So there's a couple other things that I haven't actually made a note of, but I should. And those are for interesting signs. So there are some signs that say do not disturb operator, or watch your step, or doors must close for ramp to work, or things like that. And typically the signs are just all white and they have blue letters. Like this or this. Yes, I have this. But there are some, or at least there's a few, that still have the original black signs with the white text. There's a couple of Type 2s that still have that. And very interestingly, I cannot remember the train car. It was a Type 3. It was either 310, 305. I've never seen this before, probably never will again. It has orange signs with white letters. And they have the do not disturb operator, watch your step. All those are orange with white letters. I have no idea why that one has it and none of the others do. I don't know if there's any more that do. It's very, very weird. This has an orange do not disturb sticker and an orange watch your step sticker at the top of the stairs. I don't remember the number, and I've literally been told several times of this number, but there is still one Type 5 that has the 50-year Trimet logo on it. Back when Trimet celebrated their 50th year thing, they removed it on all the rest of the trains, except for one of the Type 5s, which still has it. Also, there's a Type 5, I believe it's number 533, where for some reason on the upper deck windows, there's a second 533 that's just plastered there right on the window. I'm not sure what that's all about. And number 113 is a very interesting Type 1, as I've talked about it a couple times now. For whatever reason, when they did the car body overhaul thing and they repainted the outside, and so it looks all fresh and new, Well, instead of painting the new Trimet logo where the old one was or whatever, they just left the old Trimet logo right there on the corner. So, yeah, a bit interesting with that, but there you go. To my knowledge, that's all the Weird Max cars. It's totally not, because Trimet is Trimet, and every single vehicle is a little bit different. This video really didn't have much of a point, but maybe it'll give you a little bit of a bucket list. You could write down all those car numbers I said, or maybe I'll write them in the description or something. And then, if you happen to ride one of those, you know, let me know how it is. If it still sounds weird, or if there's another train car that I haven't talked about that I should totally ride and put on my bucket list, I will. Thank you for watching this episode, and I will see you on the next video, whenever that is. Oh yeah, also, did you see my new channel avatar icon? I changed it. Thanks to Gabe Pearson for the photo. Okay, goodbye now.